Welcome to our candidate forum. I'm Judy Stiles from KGCS-TV, and this program is featuring the candidates on the June 2nd ballot for Joplin City Council. We have 11 people on the ballot seeking 5 seats. They include general council seats as well as Zone 2 and Zone 3. Tonight you'll have a chance to hear from the candidates who are here, and they are seated spaced out by social distancing and by the zones or the areas they're representing in the race. This program is scheduled to last 90 minutes, and it's an obligation or the opportunity for the viewers, you the voters, to hear from the candidates. Each candidate will have a minute and a half to start with an opening statement for introductions and share what they'd like to share off the top with the viewers. And candidates, I've explained this, but for the viewers at home, there's a timekeeping system that you'll have later on with a light system. When you get to your answers to the questions, there'll be 1-minute answers. They'll start off with a green light, and then they'll turn to flashing green at about 25 seconds, 15 seconds when you see a yellow light, and when the red light or the beep, that means you're out of time. But for the opening statements, it'll be a minute and a half if you wish to use that much time for that opening statement. Throughout this program, I'm also going to try to rotate who's answering the first question, so it's not always the same person being at the beginning and at the end. So we're going to begin with the opening statements, and for this instance, I'm going to start off to my left or the side with Harvey Hutchinson. So if you'd like to start with your statement.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stiles. Thank you. Put this, appreciate it very much. I've sought the office before. This time is going to be the one. I practice international business consultancy. I had a trip planned too, but I made it, as a matter of fact, I put it off to have gone to India to be here for this, so I figured it was important. Of course, in the meantime, the president put my trip off for sure. I understand the budgets. I've served on the capital tax for 1 term. I've been on Parks and Recs for 2 terms. I know what's going on. I know what it takes to make growth and to bring the industry into here. That's the main thing that we're needing right now is more industry, and I work on the e-commerce committee of the Chamber of Commerce. I assist Mr. Peter any way I can and will, any way possible, to recruit industry possible. We really need some in here. I applaud his efforts to get Tesla and anything I can do to help on that. Briefly, my whole platform is law enforcement. That's the first reason that we're here, to support law enforcement. I also remember Wallace by golly's debacle here and don't think it couldn't happen again, so I would be on guard against that. My whole life has been based on family values. I belong to a lot of church organizations, other social and civic organizations. In fact, I was accused by one person, one of my supporters said, "Harvey, you volunteer for everything there is." Maybe that's true. And thank you.
All right, I hear the timer. The audience may not hear that, but we're timing the answers for that. Thank you very much. Our next candidate is Jim Scott, and I'll note for the viewers at home, they have signs in front of them, both representing Zone 2. So, Mr. Scott, you don't have to stand. No, the camera will get you as you're seated.
Thank you. My name is Jim Scott. I'm a Joplin native. I've lived here my entire life. Graduated from Joplin Senior High School, attended MSSU, and I hold a Bachelor of Science degree in Electrical Engineering from the University of Missouri at Columbia. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I served in Naval Support Activity in Da Nang in 1969-1970. I own Scott Electronic Systems. We design and manufacture custom industrial electronic assemblies for various companies across the nation and around Joplin. We're a 40-year-old company and a 25-year member of the Chamber of Commerce. I've implemented and taught adult training programs. I've taught at Franklin Tech. I've served as president of the Exchange Club of Joplin, Joplin Amateur Radio Club. I've served on the board of directors for George Washington Carver Memorial Nursery School. I'm a member of the historic Murfreesburg Preservation Inc., the American Legion Post 13. I'm a licensed ham radio operator since 1970 and a life member of the American Radio Relay League. And I live in Murfreesburg Historic District of Joplin.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. We now move to Zone 3. Mr. Stinnett.
Thank you, Judy, and appreciate Missouri Southern and you putting this on. My name is Phil Stinnett. I'm the current incumbent candidate in Zone 3. And don't let the zones fool you. Everybody in Joplin votes for everybody here, and we represent everybody here. I first got started in the city back in 1998 on the council then, and I'd already spent 10 years on the Building Board of Appeals to try to get a little bit of a feeling about how this works. I've certainly enjoyed my time, and the reason I'm rerunning is, quite frankly, because I believe I still have something to offer to the citizens. There's no greater joy in being a council member and being able to assist a citizen. A lot of what people see on council meetings and on TV represents a very small percentage of what a councilman has the opportunity to do for citizens. I am married. I'm retired. I have 2 children. I'm a member of Forest Park Baptist Church. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Joplin. And I believe that my background from budgets and public works, because my work background is mostly in construction, gives me a pretty good insight on some of the activities that go on in city government, especially in the budget area and in the public works area. So I'm just looking forward to the potential possibility, if the voters decide that, have another chance to represent citizens of the city of Joplin.
Thank you very much. Another Zone 3 candidate, Steve Urey.
My name is Steve Urey. I'm running for the Zone 3 seat as well. I am a product of the Joplin school system as well. I graduated from Joplin High School in 1968, Franklin Technical Practical School of Nursing in 1970, and then my education and professional life took me elsewhere. I came back home in 1996 and immediately got involved with church and with civic organizations. And I'm actually currently on the ADA Accessibility Committee for the City of Joplin. I have over 40 years of healthcare experience. The last 15 years of that was in upper level management, where we had to deal with some very tight budgets and make some very rough decisions, and also dealt with personnel issues. I'm also a 28-year history Christian pastor and currently attend First Community Church of Joplin. I'm running because I believe that service is something that we should all do. I believe this position is one of great service with our community. I think that we have some things to do. I think it needs to be a collaborative effort with teamwork that we have seen started in town that needs to continue so that we have some good transparency. I think we need to support our public safety departments and finally go beyond the Prop B and work on those issues.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, now transitioning to the general council seats, and the viewers will be able to see that we have quite a few because we have a number of 2 seats to fill. So let's transition with Christina Williams.
Hi, Judy. Thanks for arranging this forum again for a second time. I was supposed to be on vacation right now in Europe, but this is second best. Thank you, citizens, for listening at home. I'm assuming there's a lot more of you because of social distancing. My interest in becoming a city council member is the same for every position I've taken throughout my career and all of my volunteer work. And that's the opportunity to do meaningful work. That's my main motivation. I want to do good for others, and I get great satisfaction out of a position that does more for others than for myself. So with all the positive momentum we've had in the past few years in the city, I felt that now is the time to step up and work to help Joplin stay on this trajectory of progress and improvement. I want to continue moving our community forward. My day job, I'm a designer for an architecture firm, and I have the incredible honor of working on projects that make Joplin a better place by improving the built environment for the benefit of our citizens. As a parent and grandparent, I try my best to lead by example. I want to teach my kids and family that anyone can make a difference when we live to serve others. That way of life has never been as important as it is right now, in this uncertain time. Joplin will rebound from this pandemic because we know how to support each other. We can amend our priorities to align with what matters most. So with your votes, I hope to bring my creativity and my stubborn optimism.
Thank you very much. We have another candidate for the one of the 4-year general council positions, Keenan Cortez.
Thank you, Judy, and thank you for, again, arranging this tonight. And I'm glad we're finally getting to it. We're almost to June 2nd. I am Keenan Cortez, and I'm been a citizen of Joplin for the second time since 2004, and that's when it all began for me. I started out with the Joplin Police Department Citizen Advisory Council, where I was the chairman of that. for some period of time, and then I got approached to work on the half-cent public safety sales tax back in 2006 that we successfully passed. After that, I had an opportunity to go along with the Public Safety Coalition, in which I worked with the chamber very closely, and we got some commercial made and some educational pieces made so that we could get the word out to the public about how valuable this half-cent sales tax could become to our city, and it successfully passed in 2006. From there, I got the opportunity to go over to the Capital Improvement Public Safety Sales Tax Oversight Committee and kind of help manage that sales tax as it came in and made sure that we were keeping the promises to the voters that we made when we were passing that half-cent sales tax. I also got to serve on a Joplin charter review, which I'm going to be a proponent for if elected to the seat, that we do another one, because I think it's time that we updated the Joplin charter. I also got a chance to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and right before being appointed last year in March to the Joplin City Council, I was the chairman of the Joplin Planning. I'm looking forward to the election. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Josh Bart, another candidate.
Judy, thank you for having us again. My name is Josh Bard. I am running for a 4-year general seat. I am a lifelong resident of Joplin. I'm married. I have 5 children, 2 stepchildren, 3 biological. I've sat on the Capital Improvement Public Safety Commission for, well, this will be my 2nd term. I briefly sat on the TIF Tax Committee in 2018. My platform is transparency, the priority-based budget, the completion of step 2 for our safety personnel, and fiscal responsibility.
Okay, thank you very much. And another 4-year term general counsel seat, Shauna Ackerson.
Hello, my name is Shauna Ackerson. I hope you will remember my name and mark it on your ballot. I have lived in Joplin over 20 years. I'm an alum of Missouri Southern and have a background in business management and crime scene investigation. I am a stay-at-home mom, or domestic goddess, as some people would call it. And I volunteer in my community as a Stapleton Elementary lunch buddy and also at Cross Lines, just to name a few. I'm a huge supporter of small business, police, firefighters, and making Joplin a better place. I want to give Joplin citizens a voice. Let me be your voice, Joplin. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now go to 2-year term for a general counsel seat, starting with Josh Shackles.
Hi, everybody. My name is Josh Shackles. I am a wedding and event planner here in Joplin. I have been privileged enough to be part of more than 1,000 weddings in our town. I am here because I am looking for an opportunity to serve our community in a bigger way than I've been able to in the past. I have spent the last decade as a volunteer with a variety of groups and organizations throughout our community, working to help bring those places and things to the people. Originally, I came here to support our city departments, to promote tourism, and to help build strong neighborhoods. Since the crisis, my goal has changed to providing accurate information to people in our area and to help area residents and businesses navigate the difficulties of the crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm looking over my monitor, but I'm going to toss it on to you, Anthony.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you once again for hosting this. Citizens of Joplin, my name is Anthony Montleon, and it has been the absolute privilege of my life to serve on the Joplin City Council the last 2 years. My overriding message and responsibility I believe I have to you is transparency. In everything I do, in every vote I take. That's why after every meeting, I post it on Facebook. You can go to my Facebook page, Anthony for Joplin, and you can see exactly what I've done for you because you are my boss. And it's up to me to provide you the information to make sure that I'm continuing to support your best interests. We've all had positions and opinions and things we want to get done, and then sometimes God, nature decides to throw a curveball at us and we end up with a situation like we have now. So I'm not going to dwell too much on anything I would have planned to do because we're going to have to take this a day at a time, a week at a time, a decision at a time. That said, to give you an idea of what I have done in the past, I'm the only council member who did not vote in favor of eliminating a police officer position. When council voted to raise sewer bills on our disabled citizens, retirees, including our military veterans, I said no, because having everything equal doesn't always make it right or just. When council was talking about tearing apart our downtown again and getting rid of 506 Virginia, I asked a question. I said, what would happen if instead of spending money to destroy our historic downtown, we spend that money to save it? And that led to a discussion that saved that building. In 2 years that I've been here, we've raised wages for our salary safety workers twice. I want to continue working on that issue going forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And as I mentioned earlier, one candidate is unable to be here this evening, Chuck Koppel, and he gave me a written statement, which I will read, and I think you have a graphic that will see him at least visually through a picture. So I'm reading his statement that he sent to me ahead of time. Good evening. My name is Charles Chuck Koppel, and I'm running for Joplin City Council in Zone 2. My apologies for not being able to attend tonight, but I had a prior commitment that I had been scheduled for quite some time. I come from a long line of Joplin residents, being one of 7 consecutive generations that calls Joplin home. I served as a Joplin firefighter for over 20 years, retiring as a battalion chief. These years of service gives me a unique perspective of how the city operates and a working relationship with many of the city officials. My years in the fire service has made me someone that is very goal-oriented, someone that understands that accountability is a top priority, and someone whose leadership skills have proven under fire. Recently, I served as co-chair of the Proposition B committee. The city listed the police and fire pension funds as its greatest financial liability and its biggest obstacle to the recruitment and retention of our public safety personnel. The men and women on the committee and our public safety personnel came together and got the Proposition B tax initiative passed with over a 75% approval rate. Some of the goals I would like to accomplish on the city council are improve the city's public safety, improve relations with all city employees, improve transparency of the city council, bring back common sense government. Thank you for your time and consideration. Please get out and vote on June 2nd and vote Koppel for Joplin City Council Zone 2. So that ends our introductory statements. We're going to transition now to the questions. And as I want to let the audience know, the candidates have not seen questions ahead of time. These are just questions that are focusing on some of the things people are talking about perhaps in the community. So each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the question. We'll be using the timer this time for those answers, and we will rotate around, giving everyone a chance to answer that question. Our first question, I'm going to start with Mr. Scott this time, so you'll get to be the first person. We'll rotate from there. The first question is, perhaps one of the biggest challenges or issues facing the City Council is dealing with the budget. Share your thoughts on how to deal with the aspect of declining sales tax revenues and projects and operations that are tied to sales tax funding. Mr. Scott, I'll let you share your thoughts about the budget.
I got it now? Okay, thank you. Well, the city's main source of revenue is sales taxes. But internet shopping has changed that game, and this needs to be addressed, of course. I'm not about increasing taxes, but there needs to be an equitable way to that's found to offset the declining revenue and maintain our infrastructure of the community. I'm creative, and I think I can help with it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Senate.
And for the councilman's responsibilities in the budget, that is the biggest dog that we have to tackle and live with. There were already going to be issues as we were coming into this year. There have been several things that have happened. The Proposition B had freed up some funds for the general fund. Paying off of the super TIF early, the council did, is freed up some funds. We've actually now had, because of COVID-19, has changed the ball game totally. And it will be a brand new start when we get to budget. It is a tough item. It's one of our biggest responsibilities. And the only way to work through it is piece by piece by piece by piece. There'll have to be some changes made.
Thank you. Mr. Uri, the question dealing with the budget and the challenges and sales tax revenue.
Well, our budget's always been an issue. And with our sales tax being our primary source, we're going to have to look at other ways to develop those revenues. I believe that some of our businesses have done an excellent job of adjusting to the time that we're in and have created ways to get us to buy locally. Restaurants have started delivering and doing curbside. Some of the shops have done the same thing. And I think the important thing is that we continue to look at what our businesses locally can do to encourage people to shop here. I think we also have to be open to the fact that our sales tax is going to be one of the biggest struggles that we have. And it's going to take teamwork. It's going to take every organization in town working together and coming up with ideas to face those challenges.
Thank you. Christina Williams.
I can see the light.
You can see the light? Okay, you're ready.
Well, I think sales tax revenue is always going to be a problem. There's always going to be some obstacle in our way. There's some economy fluctuates constantly. So creativity is definitely the key. Being quick on our feet, creatively, trusting the ingenuity of our local businesses and supporting them in the ways that they come up with to stay relevant in whatever changes may come. We also need to support and market our city for a shopping destination. We already have a lot of traffic that come to eat and shop here, and that's not going away. I know we've had kind of a temporary lull in that, so keep it up.
Thank you. Mr. Cortez, the question that was dealing with the budget challenges, declining sales tax, and operations.
Thank you, Judy. You come out of the gate swinging big time tonight, starting with the budget. The first thing I'd like to say about that is we have in Leslie Haas and her team in the finance department just some extremely experienced, dedicated, and passionate people about making sure that the tax dollars that we do have are being spent very frugally and appropriately. So hats off to our finance team. They do a fantastic job. Yes, we do have declining sales tax revenues in our community. And yes, those challenges that we're going to face as a result of that going forward are going to be huge, and they're going to be very pressing. But I believe as a city that we're going to be fine. We are fortunate to be regionally located as we are. We are a retail hub. We have the two major medical centers here in town and the major retail district here. So we're going to find our way through. But it's going to be tough and it's going to be challenging. But I believe we're up for the challenge.
Okay, thank you. And the question for people who may have tuned in, we're dealing with the budget challenges and how the city is dealing with this declining sales tax, as well as the operations tied to that funding. So Josh Bart.
There's no doubt that the COVID has caused some damage for the next year or two, possibly. But I think that community involvement, gathering around each other when it comes to community and getting ideas in order to gather that community together to generate that extra income, to get shoppers into the doors of our local businesses. I think that will be the biggest impact. The priority-based budget, when it comes to our budget, I believe that with the lost revenue, it's going to be important to focus on what needs to be prioritized.
Okay, thank you. Shauna, the budget question.
City needs to have more city events to draw more revenue from outside areas, because our residents seem to be willing to travel to other cities for entertainment, dining, and travel options. We also need to work on having more career options available to our local educated workforce, because our graduates are going elsewhere instead of staying in our city and spending their money here. Also, we need to find better ways of using our assets that we already have instead of acquiring more assets. That cuts down on our spending as well. And we also need to start having our business expos, trade shows, and everything here in our city instead of outside our city, so that revenue can be spent in our city. So I have more, but it'll take too long.
Okay, thank you very much. The budget question, and Josh Shackles, it's your turn.
So in a city like Joplin, where we're primarily based our revenue on sales tax, the biggest thing that we can do is bring more people to Joplin when it's safe to spend money here by promoting events that bring people in to the city, things like Third Thursday, downtown car cruises, things that get people out get people doing stuff and spending money. While they're out, they might stop at a restaurant, they might stop at a grocery store, and they're going to spend while they're out doing things. That's going to be the secret when we're safe to let that happen.
Thank you. And Anthony Monteleone.
I think first off, it's important to note that I will not support, I mean, as we go through the next couple of rounds of budgets, we're going to have declining revenues. We might talk about personnel cuts. I will not support that in any way, shape, or form, especially when it comes to our police officers and our firefighters. We're going to get through this with everybody together. As far as sales taxes go, truthfully, the money is still there. It's just shifted. We've shifted from brick and mortar to online. There's conversations we need to have about how to solve that. We actually took that to the voters, got kind of the thumbs down on it. The state's looking at the issue as well. They might solve it for it in this next legislative session on that issue. But we have to look at property taxes as well versus sales taxes. Do we have the right mix? Because right now, Joplin makes just as much money off of hotel taxes as they do property taxes in this town. So we primarily rely on people coming in to support us rather than us supporting ourselves. And it's time to think about, is it time for us to actually pick ourselves up rather than just relying on Web City and Neosho to come into Walmart to keep us afloat?
Okay, thank you. The second question deals with economic development. I know some of you mentioned this in your opening statements or have talked about it. Many people state that Joplin needs more in terms of economic development, and the city plays a key role in those efforts, whether it's zoning matters or financial incentives to new businesses. Sometimes questions are raised about tax incentives to attract businesses. Share your thoughts about economic development and the city council's role in those efforts. So, Anthony, I'm going to start on your side this time. We're going to go the other direction.
When it comes to economic development, we have a very strong relationship with our Chamber of Commerce, and I'm really proud of Toby Teeter, our new chamber president. He's come out of the gate swinging. We swung right for the fences with Tesla. It looks like that opportunity might be going just south of us to Tulsa or Austin, Texas, but it's important for us to take these steps from council's side, cheerlead these things, to be available and say, hey, yes, we want these businesses to come to town. We want to see Joplin grow. That's not always bringing new business in. Sometimes you'll get just as much economic development if you can get 100 businesses to add a job as you do bringing one new business that adds 100 jobs. So we got to focus not only on bringing new business into town, but also finding better ways to support our existing businesses. That side of it, the city council can take a lot stronger role.
Okay. And I'm going to hold that thought because I apologize to Mr. Hutchinson. I missed you on the first question dealing with the budget. So I started alternating my order and skipped to you. Okay.
I think the question, it really comes down to two things. You got X coming in and Y going out. And when more Y goes out, X coming in, Houston, we got a problem. Well, double-edged sword, we're a great place for e-commerce. We're a crossroads of the United States. We're one of a handful of zip codes that you can ship from coast to coast, or from each coast, without having to make a relay. So we can bring, but at the same time, we need to get the use tax fixed with the state government. And I know all the legislatures, and I intend to spend a lot of time lobbying up there to get that done. Of course, mentioned by others, is industry recruitment, and nobody can go after selling industry like I can. So I will spend a lot of my time doing that. Simple enough, we get Tesla in here, the tax base goes up great.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to go back to where we were heading, Mr. Shackles, talking about economic development, the city council's role, and what is involved with that.
Well, that has a lot of different aspects, and it can be down to little things, like supporting the potential car cruise issue that could spark revitalization in areas that maybe aren't seeing a lot of traffic right now. Things to get people out and into areas. People that own businesses want those businesses to be in areas where there are people. And we need to figure out how to get people, when it's safe, out into our streets, interacting with our businesses.
Okay, thank you. Donna Ackerson, Economic Development.
I would like to see our city council be more active in supporting our small businesses in our town. Even that's as much as just giving them an easier option and making small businesses. So if you're a small business and you want to open in Joplin, make it easy and efficient. So that way you're not going through hurdles to try to do it. Maybe we'll see more businesses come to Joplin in that aspect. Also with, as Josh said, the car cruise would be an amazing thing to draw more businesses downtown because we have more traffic down there, and also more sports related activities in our city too, because they draw a lot of activity to our hotels, our shopping centers, and just with new ways to have more events, I guess. We need to have more events than we have in the past. Try to just get more interest in the outside people.
Okay, thank you. Josh Bard, dealing with economic development in the city council's role and what you see.
I do believe that the chamber does do a wonderful job. My thoughts behind that are I believe we need a knowledge-based demographic in Joplin. We've been set in our ways for quite some time, and I feel that bringing in more of a technology-based companies will bring a different demographic and help grow the area. You know, with changing times, I know that the chamber went after Tesla, and I think that would have been a wonderful addition to the Joplin area. But I think that the chamber is definitely on the right track when it comes to a technology-based businesses.
Okay. Mr. Cortez, the city council's role in economic development.
Thanks, Judy. I think the biggest role that I can play is to be in support of those persons that are out there trying to bring those businesses to town, to bring those companies to town, those manufacturers. It's been said here before already, but Toby Teeter, our president over at the chamber, is a dynamic individual who is putting Joplin on the map, that we're available. We have the land, we have the personnel, we have the staff that can take care of a business that comes to town. The biggest thing for me is in economic development is I want that economic development to have livable wages. I want people to be able to go to these new jobs that are coming to town and be able to earn a living that they can live on, that they can support their family with, and that they can enjoy a good quality of life. But the biggest thing that I can do as a city councilman is be in support of those that are out there trying to make it happen for jobs.
Thank you. Christina Williams, your thoughts.
Just like Keenan says, I think the most important thing we can do is listen to our citizens, support their dreams. And I think that we don't need only Teslas in this town. We need the big fish and the small fish. It takes all types of businesses to make our economy successful. And when it comes to recruitment of other industries, we've got to have a better quality of life here. We need amenities that our competitors in the region have, like beautiful trail systems and attractions that make people want to move and live there. We need a smart and livable city with better transportation options. We have the infrastructure to make some significant changes to improve what we have with minimal cost and make our city more attractive.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Uri, talking about economic development.
I believe that we really need to push who we are as a city. I think that our chamber is doing an awesome job, and I think it's important as a council to work with the chamber to draw in small and large businesses here, and that we need to make it easier for small businesses to set up with less red tape and be able to start and be functioning. One of the things that I think we have going on for us is the fact that we are a great community. But when people are talking about us, they don't hear it from us. And I think that's an important way that the council could put that out there for people, to let people know that Joplin is a city to come to, and that we're proud of ourselves, and that we want them to be part of us.
Thank you. Mr. Sennett, talking about economic development in the council.
Judy, if there's one area that I'm not as concerned about as I might others, it would be economic development. Mr. Teeter over at the chamber is a dynamic individual. And yes, he made a pitch at Tesla, but that was throwing something against the wall. And what he got out of that is about 6 other companies that called, want to know, what is Joplin, Missouri? Where's Joplin, Missouri? So he's working the entrepreneurial technical side of the deal. Tony Robine and Morris Glaze are working in what's called MOCAN, which is the old Regional Prosperity Initiative group. They're concentrating more on the brick and mortar stores, the businesses. The existing industry we have now could use a ton more employees. So we got places for people to work if they were to come to Joplin now. The biggest thing the city council can do is be supportive, be there to facilitate, make sure that when we get places where we're having to send, situations to allow them to come, such as special deals, that they're paying the wages, Mr. Cortez says, that will make it for the people working there can have a decent living in Joplin. Economic development, that engine's going down the track all the time.
Thank you. Mr. Scott, economic development.
The city needs to work with the chamber, of course. The Choose Joplin campaign is an excellent idea. Toby Teeter's worked, and he's just, like I said, he's something else. We need to investigate I shouldn't say that. The MOCAM partnership that you mentioned, they can work with the vacated properties on the south end of the
Wrap that final thought up.
They can work with the vacated properties on the south end of town that need to be, that area needs to be, more commercial stuff needs to
addressed.
Come back. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Sorry about the problem with the microphone there. Mr. Hutchison, talking about economic development.
I think I kind of alluded to that in the previous answer on the use tax and sales tax. I've always been in the chamber. I serve on the committee. As you know, I say e-commerce is kind of a double-edged sword. We're perfect for having it, but also it takes away our taxes till we get the use tax fixed. Another area I always encouraged Mr. O'Brien to work on, and he had one close, would be gun manufacturers. I think we're just absolutely perfect for gun manufacturers. Where they get picked on and kicked around in Massachusetts and Connecticut, get out of that Yankee spot, come down here where we got a great labor force. We've got the Crowder program where we're also I think about 90% of the walnut is produced in this state, which is what you want for the stocks. So it's absolutely perfect. You can ship both ways without having to make a change. And I would like to see that category come in along with any others that possibly can.
Thank you. Next question deals with, we see we have zones that represent parts of the city, but as you mentioned, everyone votes for the zones. But I know council members will probably tell you get calls from people from all over the city. So this question deals with the diversity of the Joplin community. Joplin's very diverse, has many different areas of town, perhaps facing different challenges and needs. How do you see the council balancing these needs of the city, whether it's the north side, the south side, the central part of the city, east, west, or outlying areas? In your role as a council person, and you hear these concerns from different parts of the city with this diversity, how would you handle those questions, those comments, those concerns that you hear? And Josh Shackles, I'm going to start with you this time. We'll move that direction again.
Wonderful. Well, one of my big things that I would like to see is to support the different neighborhoods. At one time, we had a program that was to help build strong neighborhoods, and I would like to see that program return in full force. Anything that we can do to get out to the people and create community, that's what we really need to look at. Each neighborhood's going to have its challenges and its obstacles, but really, we all live in Joplin. The obstacles are going to be very similar, and as a community, we can easily overcome them.
Thank you. Shauna, the next question.
What Josh said, I miss when we had neighborhood watch groups and when we had tight-knit neighborhoods where they would be able to talk to anybody about problems. I think we need to bring that more back because we're a wonderful community. You've seen us pull together during the tornado, so we can do this as well. I think just being able to make sure the council is available to all of our neighborhoods and enact a way for them to be able to talk to each one of us when we have that option.
Okay. Josh Bart, thinking about
this is where the transparency definitely comes in, having an open door policy to all all communities across Joplin. You know, going out and speaking to them, not being distant by any means. You run across someone at Walmart, speak to them, at the grocery store, anywhere. You know, towards the beginning of the election process, I did a video on the streetlights. Went to different parts of Joplin just to see how the streetlights were doing in certain areas of Joplin. You know, going out and just being with the community. I think that would be the biggest part there.
Okay, thank you. Keenan Cortez talking about the diversity of the city, the different needs.
Off mute here, and then maybe you'll be able to hear me. I think Joplin has a beautiful diversity going on right now, and it's increasing each and every day. The thing that I would encourage citizens to do was use your city hall. Engage us, engage your council, engage the department heads that are here. I think the diversity and increasing the service to all citizens is going to have to be a partnership. We got to work together. We got to talk to one another. We got to talk through issues that we may be having in this part of town versus that part of town. And I think if we can do that, if we can create a cohesiveness with everybody involved, we'll be able to address everything at all times. And you know, the one thing I've learned by being here at City Hall is just because you bring it up doesn't mean it's going to get fixed. But just because you bring it up and it doesn't get fixed doesn't mean that we can't have a dialogue about it and make a plan and try to get things resolved. We got to embrace the diversity in our community because it's a beautiful thing.
Christina Williams.
I'd like to bring up the example of North Heights neighborhood, and they have incredible pride in that neighborhood. They have neighborhood events, and everyone is welcome. And I know part of that started with the same neighborhood program Josh Shackles was talking about here at City Hall. That was a spinoff of that. Another way to help improve these neighborhoods is, you know, finding a way to enforce effectively the codes on maintenance for low-income housing. When people live in a place they can be proud of and looks nice and is good quality, they take care of it better. They take pride in their neighborhood and take care of each other in their neighborhood. That leads to safer places to live, walkable streets, and just an overall more attractive city. And that really exemplifies our diversity.
Thank you. Steve Urey talking about Joplin, neighborhoods and
We
diversity.
do have great diversity, but we also have some areas in our city that are suffering with lack of infrastructure. And part of the process of getting to this point, I found communities that didn't even want to talk to me about city council because they don't think the city council listens. And I think that we've got to go out, we've got to reach those communities and show that we are willing to listen. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. It's important to listen. And our citizens need to know that we're going to hear them and that we can find a way to help them in each of their communities and get them to work as a team.
Thank you. Mr. Sennett?
Judy, the first candidate forum we had was put on what seems like months ago now. Was over at the Old Women's Club in Northtown. It was put on by a group over there that have multiple groups that make up neighborhood groups. And nobody knows better what's going on in their neighborhood than the people that live in the neighborhood. What I believe the city council can do a better job of is bring those groups together and see how we can help facilitate their, number one, their growth, so they can get groups that cover the whole city. But number two, some of the things that we can provide. And the council in the past has done neighborhood projects where we've gone in, we've done sidewalks, we've done street repairs and this and that. But pride and ownership of your neighborhood is what works best. And so we need to listen to them. We don't need to tell them what to do. We need to be able to facilitate and help them, provide tools, provide whatever they need to accomplish the goals within their particular neighborhood. But we need to facilitate getting those neighborhood groups to enlarge and incorporate more of the city than they do now.
Thank you. Mr. Scott?
Well, Joplin is a 150-year-old mining town, and I'm of the opinion that we need to turn to local organizations and neighborhood groups they can provide the manpower while the city could do some of the heavy lifting with regard to improving the neighborhoods. Various revitalization efforts and historic tax credits and facade grants and streetscaping and the efforts of the Downtown Joplin Alliance, they've brought back many of the positive aspects of this fine town. And I would think that the people, you know, they come to shop and eat. And of course, after we get past all of this, the issue with the virus, they will take selfies in front of the new mural, and they'll enjoy Third Thursdays and art walks, and we have a rich history. We need to support. We need to support.
Thank you. Mr. Hutchinson.
Afford to go to fancy places like this and ask their questions. And one of the things I found that what they want most of all when it comes right down to it is a good job. And that's where we come in with economic development. I served on the Parks Board for 6 years. I know we have to give quality of life. That helps bring in more industry, but it also, for those folks, I'm all about the Boys and Girls Club and all those kind of things that people in some of the inner cities that need those services provided, and I'll do everything I can for that. But primarily, recruit industry and get them a good job.
Thank you. And going back to the other side, Anthony.
Listening to citizens, to my neighbors, to my friends is important to me. That's why every month I host a coffee forum at coffee shops around town, just that way people can come and ask me the questions, and that way I can know what's going on in the neighborhood. So I'm hoping to continue to do that as our coffee shops open back up. Council, over the last decade, we've been focused a bit because we had all these CBDG tax dollars that the federal government gave us to fix the tornado district. So that's where our infrastructure dollars have been spent. That's where our city staff hours have been spent, to the detriment to the rest of the community, honestly. And that is that's our fault. We need to take that one on the knuckles. With those projects wrapping up, we're going to be looking back at the rest of the city and saying, hey, what does your neighborhood need? I'm looking forward to doing that.
Okay, thank you. Next question deals with a term that's used a lot. I think some of you may have used it as well, the term quality of life. A lot of people say that's what people want in the cities. Economic development says we want quality of life. In your position as a potential council person, what would you say to a citizen? What does quality of life mean to you? So define what that is. I'm going to start with Mr. Stinnett and move this way. So we're going to go back to the other side.
That is a huge, all-encompassing statement to quality of life. I think the city has made tremendous strides in what's available for what people would consider quality of life, connect to culture, and what they're planning on doing. The Downtown Joplin Alliance and what they're creating in the downtown area. You have the group that is still working from the original 2020 forum group. They're working on a children's discovery center. There have been contacts and been a lot of discussion about the possibility of being able to do something with the museum complex. We have good facilities athletic-wise. We have now the dental school as well as the physician school, as well as Missouri Southern and Ozark Bible College. There's a ton of things that make up the overall picture of the quality of life in Joplin. I don't think there's any question over the last 10 years, it's improved tremendously, and it's continuing to move forward.
Thank you. Mr. Urey, quality of life, define that for us.
Quality of life is a whole tapestry of things that impact each of us, everything from lower crime rate to healthy things to do like our trails and our bike paths, to bringing new industry into town, or even our education system with the medical school and the dental school. Citizens are looking for things that improve their quality, improve what they have available to do, and improve their health. It is a situation that the city is doing a great job. Downtown Joplin Alliance, the Arts District, all of these groups are providing things, but we need to be sure that our community knows how to access.
Christina Williams, define the quality of life, what this means for you.
To me, quality of life starts with meeting basic needs. And that would be having a safe community to live in with affordable housing options, good transportation, safe infrastructure, good healthcare systems, and education. We have most of that. And then, you know, when you start with that and quality of life and then go the next step up, culture, entertainment options, and add those layers to quality of life, that's when you bring in the outside community and economic development. So it all plays together in this cycle of making your community vibrant, that quality of life.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cortez, quality of life.
I think the quality of life in Joplin is tremendous. We are fortunate to be situated the way we are, right on I-49 and I-44. We can go east, north, south, and west, any destination we wish. But right here at home, we have great jobs in this community. We have wonderful health care in this community. We have a rich sense of history here in our town. And the cost of living is next to nothing. Our educational system, you can be born in this town and you can end up with a master's degree without ever leaving the city limits of Joplin. That's a wonderful thing for us to have. And I don't have to get on the freeway to go see my mother. You know, I just got to get on a couple streets to drive around town to go visit any friends or family that I want to. We have wonderful religious organizations in town. Our quality of life is, as it's been said, is a tapestry of a bunch of wonderful things that come together and make it. But I believe that Joplin already has a tremendous quality of life in it already.
Okay, thank you. Josh Bard, quality
I
of
think
life.
of quality of life, I think of the connectivity in Joplin. I know that we've been working on that for quite some time. You know, safe communities, putting those streetlights in, making for sure that our communities are safer. We have great jobs to people that want to move here or continue to live here. Of course, our Arts District and Downtown Alliance make it possible for our community to get together a couple times a month. I think we just continue building on that. We have a great community already. We just need to continue building on what we've got and make it that much better for everyone.
Thank you. Shauna Ackerson, defining quality of life.
I believe that Joplin has a great quality of life. Not to say that we can't improve on even the greatest of quality of life. We have great jobs in our community. We have a safe community. I would like to see us be able to retain and recruit all of our firefighters and policemen so we can keep our city safe with competitive wages. And that will keep our city at a great quality of life right there. We do have a great cost of living in our city. We are one of the lowest cities that you can go to actually live at. We have a wonderful, great arts district and colleges, and we can do nothing but improve on all of that.
Thank you. Josh Shackles, quality of life.
For most of our community, quality of life is about having a good job, being able to get to the places that you need to go and get the things that you need to do. For many of us, it's about having activities, things to keep us entertained, ways to educate and explore, things that will expand the mind. People love arts and entertainment. But the people that I would really like to focus on are the teens, people that are homeless, maybe that are struggling in our community with addiction. Those are the people that we really need to step up and support during this time.
Thank you. Anthony?
Quality of life, to me, quality of life means, do I love where I live? Are all the services, the amenities, everything that makes up the community, does it make me get up in the morning and say, thank God I'm in Joplin? And for me, it's a yes. For everyone, it's just going to depend on where you are. For me, I'm usually looking, what's available as far as coffee shops? Where can I get entertainment this weekend? For some of my friends, it's, hey, do my streets have ADA ramps? Can I actually get around this city? Everyone has different things they're looking for, and it's the responsibility of those of us elected on council to listen to all those things, figure out how can we continue to raise the bar and just make this place even that much.
Thank you. Mr. Hutchinson?
Near check mic level, please. I understand if I have it at the wrong place or what. Up higher or lower? I was told I've been cutting out the whole.
Okay.
Anyway, for this group. two ways. Some said we got plenty. Quality of life to me, yes, we've got good quality of life here, but it's like a lot of other things. If you're sitting still, you're going backwards. So it needs to, we have to constantly be reaching for more. I was asking one of my town halls, would I favor a conference center over a rec center? Well, I would want both. I came here from Broomfield, Colorado, where actually they had a go-getter mayor there, and he actually made up his own county out of 4 or 5 that came together. And he put a great conference center together with a hockey rink for AAA hockey and for AAA basketball. And I think we could do that as long as we have affiliated teams. I'd also believe we can still get baseball over in Becker as long as it's an affiliated team. If we bring those things in, and the other thing that I'm just tickled pink about here is connected culture. And I know from recruiting industry, everybody says, well, you got to have a baseball team, you got to have this because they want that. Well, the thing is, that calls it, he's got a Mrs. Big Shot, and she doesn't want to go to Tulsa to see the opera. So we need to support them in all we can.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Scott, wrapping up the question about quality of life.
Thank you. Well, Joplin's a friendly community, and having lived here my whole life, I love this town. I can't explain it, but it's just a great place to live. There's great opportunities for jobs in the area, several manufacturers and companies that seem to be on the cutting edge these days. We have entertainment, although somewhat limited, but we looking forward to Connect to Culture moving forward with their project. We have hiking trails, sports venues, and if you have what you need and want, that's what's important as far as a citizen of a particular community. Don't forget that we have colleges. We have, besides the Ozark Christian College, we also have the medical schools, dental school that's coming up as well. In downtown Joplin, all of the arts events that are going on there just makes it a great place to be.
Thank you. Next question, I'm going to start with Shauna Ackerson this time. We're kind of bouncing back and forth to the other side. This one, if someone, as a city council member, you represent the city, whether you run the public or people are contacting you, but if someone were to ask you, and maybe they're not from Joplin, name 2 points of pride that you would say are the things you're most proud of for the city of Joplin, what would you say in response to that question? Shauna?
Ooh, only 2? Okay. Well, the first one, of course, I'm taken back to the tornado when we came together as a community so well, and we have bounced back from that just amazingly. And also, as we're going through this pandemic, we're being very good about supporting our businesses in town and making sure that, we're being a community and helping others, because I've seen a lot of that as we went through this pandemic. We've had a lot of people that needed food or couldn't get out to get things. And so we came together as a community and helped others. And I like that about Joplin. So those are my 2 things that I've seen.
Okay. Josh Bard, 2 things you would tell someone, your points of pride in the city.
Definitely the resilience, the unity we have when a disaster of any kind comes our way. We bond together like no other community in the United States, as far as I'm concerned. The next would be our Eagle pride. We love our Joplin Eagles, and we definitely support our schools. I would love to see more of that in the future. We finally had a parade after 30 or 40 years. I would love to see that start happening every single year. Those would be the 2 that come to mind.
Okay. Mr. Cortez, I want to ask you your 2 points of pride in the city.
Josh stole my thunder, but our schools are just top notch. We have, from elementary through the high school, our Joplin Eagles have done so well these last several years. A lot of the things that they've tried to do, and then you can leave Joplin High School and go to one of the best universities in the area, Missouri Southern or Ozark Christian College, or you can become a doctor in this community, and soon you'll be able to become a dentist. So our school system is strong. We just elected a new president out in Missouri Southern. I'm excited to get to know that guy. And just the general friendliness of our community. The people here care about one another. And that's one of the things that really makes me proud. I just see it every day, all the time, over and over again. Citizens coming together to make sure that no one is left behind.
Thank you. Christina Williams, your 2 points of pride if you were asked about the city of Joplin.
I'll try to come up with one thing that's different, but I've got to agree with everyone else about our grit and our resilience. Our community is not afraid of hard work. We're courageous, step up and help each other out. And I'm personally really proud of that. And another thing I'm also proud of is our connectivity. We have a really unique situation in our city, both geographically. We are close to so many other great metro areas. We can just hop over to Springfield or Northwest Arkansas and participate in other activities. And we have that low cost of living that adds to that. So, when I am talk in about pride about living in Joplin, that's something I always mention, is that connectivity and how I can live here and have that low cost of living and afford to do all the other things I want in life.
Thank you. Mr. Urie, points of pride.
Well, clearly, the strength of our community. When I travel, I have people ask, well, how did you all come back together after the tornado? And how are you all responding now? It's because we do have a strength here. And the connectivity of being able to get together and help each other. And I think that's something that you can't find in some places. We have a great faith community that helps us with that. We have a great education system that helps us with that. So all these groups come together, and that creates the pride we have. I also think that the other thing that I am really proud of is our arts community. Our arts community is top-notch, and we have an arts community that provides us with all kinds of opportunities. And it's something that, again, most communities don't have. I'm very proud of what they do here.
Thank you. Mr. Sinnott, points of pride for you.
I seem repetitious because everybody is basically talking about what I think we would all share. I'm going to stick with one. For me, through conversations and through out-of-town conversations, and there is nothing that equals anywhere close to what this community did after the tornado. The resiliency of the citizens, the willingness to forego their own problems and help somebody else's problems, that is shared throughout this country today of Joplin, Missouri, and what it did and was able to accomplish after the tornado. Everything else everybody else has mentioned certainly is prideful. I have pride in that, but no place is going to be able to say what I can say about the city of Joplin.
You mentioned it gets sometimes tough being near the end of the order as the repetition continues, but Mr. Scott, your thoughts about points of pride.
Thank you so much. I'll try here. Everybody said it before. Joplin has a rich history, a very rich history. We started with zinc is king. And we survived the end of the mining era. And this town repurposed itself. And we have become a metro center. Agricultural maybe to some degree, but also industry has been growing. And on any given day, we have over 200,000 people in this town. It's remarkable, remarkable. And I can also say that the tornado event in 2011 did define us. I'm so proud of the people who live in this community. Very humbling.
Thank you. Mr. Hutchison, points of pride, if you had two to mention.
The source of pride for me is what Connected Culture's doing, building that new facility there, somewhat $15 million or so. The fact that the court system, the museum, university get together and take that building there, the old library, and turn it into a combination museum history place. We could have Mr. Belt could office there. We could have a tenured professor there who would concentrate on the 150-year history. I think those are needed. And the other thing I mentioned that from the community I came from in Broomfield, Colorado, if we could build a combination event recreation center and have a hockey rink and a basketball arena and also a place to bring in conferences that we need. And those should be downtown. We need to build downtown. The library should have never gotten away, but it did, so that horse is out the barn. And that's what I would like to see to encourage real pride.
Thank you. Mr. Monteleone.
I think the thing I'm most proud about Joplin about is people here care. We care about our neighbors. We care about what's going on across town. We care enough for our city that we're willing to pass another half-cent sales tax to make sure our pensions fund's taken care of. People here care, and it's great to be involved in a community where people care.
Thank you. And Mr. Shackles, your points of pride.
Love our art and our culture that's here. We have such a diverse group of artists creating things in the Joplin area, from our local elementary schools to Missouri Southern to Art Walk, Third Thursday. There's so much art that's happening here, and I'm really proud to be part of that.
Okay, thank you. Next question for each of you individually, to let the audience know, they might want to say, you want to be city council. Well, what are you doing to prepare yourself to be an effective city council member? It's work, it takes time, some responsibilities of city council. So what are you doing to prepare yourself to be effective as a city council member? Maybe defining what you think effective is as well. And this time I'm going to start with Mr. Uri, and we'll move that way.
Well, I've spent hours and hours going back and researching our charter, our history of ordinances and how they're changed. I probably have gone back 10 years on city council minutes and decision process. And I think that those things are things that any council person, somebody that's looking to be on the council, should be doing to help prepare themselves. And as well with that, having a sounding board for people to come to and talk to and ask questions, getting used to talk to the public, being able to listen.
Thank you. Christina Williams, what are you doing to prepare yourself to be an effective council member?
Well, first, definitely watching all of the city council meetings and city briefings, especially during this recent pandemic, has been really enlightening, and watching how council members handle the situation, how they get feedback from the public and inform their decision making. It's been really insightful, and I commend the city council members for the steps they've taken recently to make sure that our community is safe. Another thing I've been doing is kind of assembling advisors who can help me, people who have been on council in the past who can help me navigate the charter, how everything works behind the scenes. I've never worked within the city, so everything is going to be new to me, and I'm okay with that, and I'm going to be honest about it. I still will have a lot to learn, and I go.
Thank you. Mr. Cortez, the aspect of preparing or being an effective council member.
I think the things that I've learned from council members that I serve with right now, first of all, Judy, this sitting up here is not for the faint of heart. I think you need to be prepared to be available. And that's the one thing that I've learned is you got to answer your phone when there's that phone number on there that you don't recognize, because it's probably a citizen that's concerned and needs to talk to you. You got to be willing to have that conversation at those inconvenient times, because being an effective city councilman is not just about sitting up here twice a month for a couple of hours. I think being an effective city councilman is being out there in community, listening to what's going on, keeping your ear to the track, finding out what the heartbeat is, and be willing to be responsive to that, and to bring those things back to this dais and discuss them with your fellow council members to hopefully effectively initiate change. But you got to be available. You got to be ready to be out there with the citizens and listen to them.
Thank you. Josh Bard, effective city council person.
I'm on many social platforms when it comes to Facebook and whatnot. You know, I've been building a relationship within our community for quite some time with the school, a lot, the police and fire department. You know, over the last 5 years, I've researched, I've watched city council, been out in the community. I've asked questions. I have coffee periodically, probably twice a month with different people throughout the city just to see what they think and how they are feeling about certain things. I agree that this is not definitely a servant's job. I think that everyone that's up here right now is well deserved to be here.
Thank you. Shauna Ackerson, dealing with preparing yourself to be an effective city council member.
I have been researching other towns and how they are handling similar issues our town faces. Also watching other city council events when they have them as well to see what they do differently to maybe do that in our city councils just to help. Also, I've been talking to citizens and businesses to find out what their concerns and needs are to help with whatever we can do for them, because we are the voice of the city. So we need to be working for the city because it's not just our own agendas. So,
thank you. Mr. Shackles.
So I have been meeting with people from different departments, different organizations for a considerable number of months now to make sure that I have at least a base knowledge of most of the things that may come in front of this council. Some of the things that I've done to help get ready are to prepare a website that can help disseminate information to people. I feel like getting information to people and receiving information from people is one of the key things of this season. So I've been trying to get things in a row so that people can get information up here to the council and back into the community.
Thank you. Anthony Motley.
I think what has made me an effective council member these last 2 years is just being entirely honest and transparent with the people I report to, which is our citizens. Beyond that, I think you got to know that there's no clocking out on this job. The phone might ring at 9 or 10 at night, and I'm probably going to pick it up if someone's got an issue. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of research. It's a lot of going out and visiting people or businesses or somebody's backyard because there's flooding going on it. They are saying, well, it's because you guys did road work here last year, and that's when this started, and just figuring all these things out and how best to solve them. You have to be totally committed to it the entire time. I think that's what's made me effective.
Okay, thank you. Transition to my other side. Harvey Hutchinson, what are you doing to prepare to be an effective council member?
For the last 7 or 8 years, I've served on the Parks Board. For 6 years, I've served on the Capital Tax Board. I made it a point to learn what's going on. When I started this campaign, we set up a Facebook chat room that we invite everybody to, in the name of transparency, I've heard that word a lot tonight. And we wanted all the citizens that they could come in and ask all the questions. Matter of fact, we're going to have 3 more forums tomorrow night at 7, Friday night at 7, and Sunday night at 7. We invite you to come in and ask your questions. And we feel like that's the best way to be prepared to serve the citizens. You know, the mayor doesn't own this city, and the staff doesn't own it, and 9 people don't own it. The people own it. Those 50,000 people out there own it, and that's who we work for, and that's who we're auditioning for right now.
Thank you. Mr. Scott, your thoughts on becoming an effective council member?
Well, I've been out stumping in the community since I started this. However, with a slight interruption of the COVID event, but meeting people door to door, that's been very interesting for me because it's kind of new. It's not exactly something I go do every day. I've been reading the charter, almost done with that. I familiarized myself with the recent budget. But I have an advantage. My wife worked over 20 years for the city, so that gave me a little bit of helped me become more familiar with how the city works and some of the different departments and divisions, the people in them. And I think that might help me become more effective.
Mr. Sinnott, your thoughts on what it takes to be an effective council member?
Judy, from day one, I believe the citizens obviously are the bosses and you need to listen to them. So I've consistently tried to be out in the community. I'm retired, so I can spend a lot of time in coffee shops and donut shops. I also have a select group of individuals that have always been with me that represent most every facet of the city of Joplin. I go to them to have them tell me, what are you doing wrong? What did I do bad at a council meeting? Where did I make a mistake? Where did I vote wrong? I also listen to my fellow council members because, you know, it's one thing to talk all the time, but it's another thing to listen. And they have a lot of insight. The other thing that I do is I consistently watch the Springfield council meetings. I try to learn from how they do things differently. And they do some things quite a bit differently. I've talked to the mayor that we ought to consider. So I try to get a perspective from another city's council, how they deal with issues and address issues. Springfield's a sister city, and I try to use them as an example, but I enjoy talking to people, so going out and just listening is.
Thank you. At the beginning, you had a chance for an opening statement, and people who have been watching and looking and saying, well, there's a lot of people on the ballot. How are we going to make a decision? So as a kind of a closing statement of each of you to share, you know, why voters, what sets you apart, why voters should choose you as one of the candidates in your respective races for the June 2nd election. So, and I'm going to start with Mr. Bart, and we'll move that direction this time. So what would you say to voters? Why should they vote for you as a closing statement?
Well, I'm ready to serve the community. You know, I ran in 2018 and won. I have not got the opportunity to serve, and I want to complete that service to our community. That's it. That's exactly what I want to do.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cortez, what would you say to a voter? Why should they support you?
Judy, I'm hoping that the last 16 years that I've been serving this community has meant something. I'm hoping that I've been able to be a part of a small change for the better for this community. If I get an opportunity to speak to the voters like I am right now, I want to tell them a couple things. One of the things I want to tell them is fill out your census. If you haven't done that yet, get on the census and get it filled out online. That's going to be so important to our community when that wraps up, that you've been counted. The second thing is 1 week from today, you got to go vote. Go vote. These local elections matter. Putting the 9 people up here on the council that are going to move things forward in the next 4 years, it matters what happens. So go vote, whether you vote for me or not. And I need you to vote for me, but go vote. And then you know what? We're in challenging times right now. And I think strong, proven leadership is something that is needed at the city level.
Thank you. Christina Williams, your chance to talk to the voters why they should support you in this election.
Well, I'm known in this community for getting things done. I've been involved in numerous projects that have made an impact in our city. And my passion is problem solving, and I really love a good challenge. Not many people can say that, but you choose to vote for me, you can trust I'm going to listen. I look forward to that, listening to all voices, not just the loud ones. I'll also ask your questions. And when I make decisions, I want to consider the needs of all the citizens, make decisions that improve quality of life and bring equity and access for everyone. And you can vote for me if you choose or not, but please go vote. And I also want to plug the Joplin Schools Bond. Please vote. Vote with your heart. Do what's best for our kids.
Thank you. Mr. Uri, someone were to ask you as a voter, why should they support you? They have a lot of choices.
My whole life has been about service, and I'm ready to serve this city and serve each of the citizens. I believe that my background is a strong foundation to be able to do exactly that. One of the things that we can all learn from experiences that we're going through right now is the importance of listening, being available to our citizens. I do also want to encourage people to get out and vote. If you don't vote for me, that's fine, but get out and vote. Use that right that you have. Our youth need to be encouraged to be involved in our city, and they need to get out and vote. We need to encourage that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sinnott?
Judy, I've been around doing this long enough for people to either decide they think I'm doing a good job or doing a terrible job. I encourage people to go vote. I believe that if you pay attention to council meetings and follow the council, that you will understand and see that I ask questions. I don't represent any special interest group. I am here to represent all of the citizens. I would hope that my track record would deserve your vote, but if it doesn't, then still vote. But Everybody up here wants the job. Everybody up here has a right to the job. I'm just saying that I think my track record would stand.
Thank you. Mr. Scott, the question for voters is why should they support you? Your answer.
Thank you, Judy. I really appreciate the opportunity to present myself to the citizens tonight. My experience is with manufacturing, and I bring that perspective to the table. Joplin is strategically located with major highways, rail lines, and an airport. We can capitalize on these assets, and teamed with the local chamber, Joplin could be a major player in industry and commerce. I intend to work hard to promote business, industry, education, job training programs here. I've met with many folks around this community while I was stumping, and I still am during my campaign, although it was interrupted a bit. Without exception, they've shared their comments and concerns. I support the need for clean, safe neighborhoods, better job opportunities, and affordable housing, which are often mentioned. I'm not a one-issue candidate. I believe that we should take care of all of our city employees and staff, as they're an essential part of our community. In short, they make Joplin a better place to live. As for myself, my family goes back to the beginning of the city. My great-grandfather was the first elected mayor here, and as a Joplin native, I'm familiar with the rich history of this area. And I do encourage everyone to vote on June 2nd.
Thank you. Mr. Hutchinson.
Well, again, as I said at the opening, Dr. Stiles, thank you very much for putting this on and for the staff for giving up their time to put it on as well. I appreciate that very much. What do I have to bring? I bring a businessman's perspective and dynamo, very like you've never seen. I intend to put full energy and enthusiasm into it. I'm not connected with any staff group or any constituency or any unions or anything like that. I'm strictly representing the 50,000 people out there, and that's the way it's going to be. I do intend to keep my website up for constituency services and also my Facebook. I'll continue to do those town halls and invite the public's participation in them. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Moving to this side, Mr. Monteleone.
Thank you, Judy. I'm not going to ask anyone to vote for me. I'm just going to ask you to please go vote. Please research all the candidates, research the issues. We have a school bond issue. Joplin Globe's put out great information. We can rewatch this program. Four State's homepage, ARPS, they've all produced some very great content. So I just ask everyone to please read about the candidates, read about the issues, pray about what you need to do, and then please go to the polls on June.
Mr. Shackles, what would you like to say to the voters?
Well, I would just like voters to know that I am here to serve you. I am available if you need me. I have a website, which is joshuashackles.com, and a Facebook. I invite you to come and join me in a conversation about the city in either of those locations. I love the city of Joplin and look forward to the opportunity to increase city revenue and help to better support our city departments. Thank you.
And Shauna Ackerson, what would you like to say to the voters?
Very important. Please go vote. Your vote matters. And whoever you're voting for, it still matters. I want to be the voice of Joplin citizens. So I would love to have your vote. If I don't, like it's been said before, any of my candidates that are competing against me would make awesome candidates. So I have small children, so I'm vested in the community. So I'm here for the long haul. So I have a reason to make our community better. So I just want to see Joplin constantly improving. So thank you.
Hey, thank you. And I'd like to thank all of you as the candidates for being here this evening, taking an hour and a half of your time in the middle of the week like this. But I think it's important to let the citizens of the community hear from you. And as you've mentioned that this show will be repeating, so if somebody tuned in late, KGCS will have it, and we're also going to put it on our YouTube channel. So there's a number of ways that people can hear what you have to say again and repeat those. So thank you all for participating. I want to also thank the city staff for working with us and setting this up and being able to provide that programming behind the scenes. I'd also like to thank our student and our staff who are working behind the scenes to bring this programming to you. And remind the voters, remember, June 2nd, a week from today, as this live program, but also coming up fast if you're watching it as a recorded program. Important that day to go out and vote. So thank you all very much for being with us, and good night. Thank you. You didn't have too much.